connected these parts of North America that would have been otherwise inaccessible. And importantly, I think it speaks to that sharing of knowledge. It brings us back to a point in our relationship where there were these true transcultural collaborations that were grounded in mutual respect and mutual accountability and co-learning. And importantly, I think for me, that's what this symbolizes, and importantly, wanting to get back to that place where Indigenous knowledges, worldviews, ways of knowing, being, and doing are
wanting to get back to that place where Indigenous knowledges, worldviews, ways of knowing, being, and doing.
And Indigenous innovation didn't stop there, right? There we have birch bark canoes laid the foundation or made possible trade in North America, laid the foundation for what would become the Canadian economy. We also had rubbers, we had snow goggles, raised bed agriculture. You talked a little bit about Three Sisters and co-planting. Indigenous peoples have been referred to as the world's first horticulturalists. So 2/3 of the global agriculture today consists of plants that were originally domesticated throughout North and South America. So things like tomatoes and potatoes and peppers and cocoa and chickpea and corn, tobacco, they all came from here, right? And that surprised me because some of these foods that have since become staples around the world, like tomatoes, I always thought those were Italian, right? But they came from here, right? And potatoes, I thought that was from Ireland, but they came from here. And then anesthetics and
Take your seats. Okay, so I'm about to make someone very happy. If someone lost their cell phone, I have it. Yay! Very welcome. Okay, now here we go. On to our next presentation. Defy Dementia, the heart of a healthy brain. Knowing what's good for the heart is good for the brain. What key actions can we take to make positive, sustainable lifestyle changes to reduce our dementia risk? Moderated by Dr. Roseanne Alliong, Director, Research, Innovation and Translation at the Baycrest Academy for Research and Education and the Center for Aging and Brain Health Innovation. This Defy Dementia panel delves deep into the cardiovascular risk factors of dementia, such as blood pressure, LDL cholesterol, and exercise. The panel will discuss the latest research on how our heart health impacts our brain health and explore how making small changes to your lifestyle may protect your heart and reduce your dementia risk. Dr. Alliong, here we go.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. I'm hoping everybody got hydrated, took a little bit of a walk. Everybody's ready to exercise their brain? Excellent. So thank you, first of all, to the TMU 50 Plus Festival for having us yet again, and we're really excited to be here. I'd like to introduce one of my fellow panelists because he is going to help me co-present the first part. This is Dr. Paul O, who is the Good Life Fitness Chair in Cardiovascular Rehabilitation and Prevention. He's also the Medical Director of the Cardiovascular Prevention and Rehabilitation Program at the Toronto Rehab Institute and a Senior Scientist at the Kite University Health Network. I'm kind of more brain, he's definitely more heart at this point. But his research, his research activities examine ways to design, implement, and evaluate the best approaches of cardiac rehab. His research themes include the role of exercise. Exercisers out there? Yes. Risk factor management, enhanced self-management, technologies to support healthy behavior, patient education models, and analyzing cardiovascular databases to better understand long-term patient outcomes. In other words, I'm just going to listen to what he tells me to do, and I'm going to pretty much do it. But all to say, I'm really excited he's going to co-present with me today on the heart of a healthy brain. So first off, I want to thank our funders, the Slate Family Foundation, of course, Baycrest, and the Center for Aging and Brain Health Innovation for making all of today's work possible. And I want to start off with just a broad overview about what is dementia. A lot of people have heard the word dementia, but maybe more people have heard the words Alzheimer's disease. And what we want to talk a little bit about is that dementia is an umbrella term of a constellation of symptoms, often including, for example, memory, emotional changes, and they actually have a variety of different types. The most common is Alzheimer's disease, which you see on the left, which accounts for about 70% of dementia cases. But you can see that there's other types like vascular dementia, there's dementia with Lewy bodies, mixed dementia, frontotemporal dementia. So again, although you may have heard of Alzheimer's disease, there are other types of dementia. But what we want to make clear to everyone is that dementia is not a normal part of aging. Okay? Some people might believe it is, but we're here to hopefully dispel that myth. So here are some statistics about dementia. As you can see, currently there are 55 million people worldwide living with dementia. And we anticipate that by 2050, that number could rise to 152 million. But what we want to talk to you about is that approximately 45% of those cases could be preventable through modifiable lifestyle changes. So the idea is that there are things that you can do every single day to bring down and reduce your dementia risk. And what are those modifiable risk factors? So here, this is a figure adapted from the Alzheimer's Research UK, but there are early life risk factors, for example, quality of your education in early life, and there's a lot of different risk factors during midlife. So for example, hearing impairment, high cholesterol, depression, traumatic brain injury, physical inactivity, diabetes, smoking, high blood pressure, obesity, and excessive alcohol. So a lot of different things that we could actually make changes in, big and small, to hopefully reduce our dementia risk. And then in later life, uncorrected visual impairment has been shown to be a risk factor for dementia, as is social isolation and loneliness, as well as air pollution. All of these factors have been scientifically found to contribute to each person's dementia risk. Now, today's topic is the heart of a healthy brain, because many of those risk factors are cardiac or heart related. And I've put circles around those particular ones: high cholesterol, diabetes, smoking, high blood pressure, obesity, physical inactivity, and actually air pollution does actually impact your heart as well. But I'm gonna actually turn it over to Paul to give us a little more detail about what that actually means. Paul, the floor is yours.
Roseanne, thank you very much, and it's great to be with all of you. I'm with my people, 50 plus. It's the best time of life, isn't it? Where we think about serious things like, what's gonna kill us today? Oh my God. But let's think of, I love Roseanne's approach that there are lots of things that we can do to keep us healthy. So rather than kind of embracing the end, let's think about ways that we can actually be strong, be fit, and actually thrive through this. In my day-to-day work, and you're going to meet Emil on the panel, is somebody who's actually been through a program with us. We actually work with people of our demographic and who've been through cardiovascular events like heart attacks or heart surgery or stroke or living with diabetes. And the goal of the program is not simply to survive whatever event that you've been through, but actually thrive for the rest of your year. That we say things like, congratulations, you've had a heart attack. Now's the chance where you can actually pay attention to all of those important things that we may not have had time to do, all right? So some of the common kind of interfaces between brain and heart, I agree completely with Roseanne. They're like physically, they're close together. They're only separated by this far. For the taller people in the room, it's this far, but it's pretty close. They share a circulation, that whatever happens in blood vessels of the heart happens in blood vessels of the brain. Whatever happens in metabolism, like sugar or salts that bathe our heart, also bathe our brain. Inflammation, this is a medical term about the ways the body can kind of react to the environment or attack itself, affect the heart and the brain. So close integration, right? Good news is there's many things that we can do. And some of the common things, like high blood pressure. If we took a poll of the room, and I won't ask you to put your hands up, but I'm going to guess at least half of us in this room probably have been told that our blood pressures are a little bit high, or you may be on medications, or you may be told to watch your salt, or things like that, right? So this is a common phenomenon that affects us. And maybe one of the most important things that we can do for both our heart health and brain health, that an elevated number is not a normal part of aging. In some of the textbooks that I read when I was going through medical school, it was like, your normal blood pressure is 100 plus your age. And that was actually written in medical texts. So think, okay, well, that's 160, 170, 180. What we've discovered over the last couple of decades is that was completely wrong. That if you have a blood pressure of 180, this is a bad thing. There's hammering that's going on in your head all the time and to your heart. That if we get those numbers down, that's a really good thing. And if we actually get your blood pressure not to just okay, but really good, it makes a difference. And getting a blood pressure to less than 130/80, for instance, is associated with a reduction in dementia risk by 15%. That's a big step. Like there's no one thing that's going to cure it all, but you add all the steps together that Roseanne showed with her slide, and you actually can do quite a lot. So this is a simple one. If you're living with high blood pressure, the next series of slides is 1, know your number, and 2, get your number under the control that you want to be. If you're living with high blood pressure, for most people, less than 130/80 is a good thing. You should know your number. You should check your number. You should talk it over with your doc. It's your number, not their number, okay? It's yours. Number 2 is this cholesterol stuff. So we've got all kinds of things that float through our bloodstream. One of those particles is cholesterol. It comes from things that we eat. It also comes from things that we make in this big organ over here called your liver. 70% of your cholesterol comes from your liver. We are programmed to make cholesterol because we need it as a building block for cells in our body, including the brain. But we tend to eat as much cholesterol as we can get. And we tend to produce a lot of cholesterol, and we tend not to get rid of it very well. So it tends to accumulate in our bodies. Blood vessels, large ones like the big aorta in the center of your chest and belly, small ones that are like in your brain. And if you plug up blood vessels, that ain't a good thing, right? It's like plugging up our roads, which we face all the time. It's like trying to get to downtown Toronto in the middle of the day or exit it. Need I say more? That's what cholesterol is like. So getting down bad cholesterol, the so-called LDL, lousy LDL cholesterol, low density lipoprotein, lousy stuff. Getting that down as much as you can is a good idea. It's counterbalanced by HDL, high density lipoprotein, H for healthy. If you got lots of that stuff, it's like a scavenger. It goes picks up bad particles, gets rid of them. So know your number. Do y'all know what your LDL cholesterol is? If not, your homework for next week is go get your LDL measured. You should know it and get it down to your healthy level, okay? Number three, so there's good research, lots of research that shows that managing your cholesterol is a good thing. Good for heart health, good for brain health. Next one, diabetes. So I think diabetes is a condition where we're just not processing the sugar in our body as best as we can, right? We all have sugar in our body. You need it. It feeds our brains at the right levels. But there's a tendency for sugar to be overproduced, over-consumed, and our bodies don't handle it particularly well. And when it accumulates to excess, it starts to affect different organs, including our brain. And there is a relationship between having diabetes and to developing certain kinds of dementia that Roseanne told us about, in particular, the kind of dementia that's associated with blood vessel problems. So once again, what's my mantra? If you have diabetes, you should know your number. You should know your blood sugar number or your 3-month average blood sugar number, which is called your hemoglobin A1C. Everybody should know your A1C, and it should be not just okay, but it should be really good. It should be normal. And you will lower your risk of dementia. You'll lower your risk of heart disease. And that's pretty good for you. One more risk factor that I just want to highlight here was around smoking. We've done a really good job in this country in reducing overall population smoking. And on average, about 17% or so of the population smokes. We're really concerned, of course, about youth these days, of the rise of vaping that then leads to smoking again. Smoking, for those people who smoke, it's tough, right? I completely empathize. That for people who smoke and under stress, that having a cigarette and getting a nicotine hit in the brain is nothing's happier than that. It's one of the most strongly addictive substances that we have created. The downside is that having smoke in our body is not a good thing. It's not good for our lungs, not good for our hearts, not good for our brains. Quitting is a very good thing. Quitting at any time is a good thing. It may take on average 13 quit attempts to actually get off of cigarettes, but it's never too late, so please keep trying. All right, back to Roseanne.
Thank you. So, now that you have a better sense of dementia, the heart of a healthy brain, we want to talk a little bit about where can you find your information about what to do next? Because we've told you that you can reduce your dementia risk. We've told you there are certain parts related to your heart health that'll help your brain as well. So we're here to talk about Defy Dementia. Defy Dementia is a program where we offer a series of different pieces of information that gets you the stories of many of your peers, but also the latest information from experts around the world, including Paul, because he was on our cardiovascular episode, and strategies that you can take to reduce your dementia risk. So first up, anybody in the room listen to podcasts? Yes. All right. So we actually release a monthly podcast about the different modifiable risk factors of dementia. and most importantly, different strategies you can take to address those factors. We also tackle a lot of other dementia-related topics because it's important that we talk about, for families, for loved ones who are living with dementia, how can we address different challenges that people might face. So dementia communication, for example, transitions to long-term care. We also tackle those types of topics. So it's co-hosted by Dr. Alison Sekuler, who's the president and chief scientist at Baycrest, as well as Jay Ingram. Anybody remember Jay Ingram from Quirks and Tarks to Discovery Planet? Yes, his voice sounds the same. Just gonna put it out there. And every single month what we do is we share the lived experience of a person, whether that be an older adult, whether that be a caregiver, whether that be individuals living with dementia or individuals living with disability. Because it's important we give voice to those individuals and hear what their lives are like. And then what we do is we actually ask an expert from around the world, Paul included, to respond to that story, because we want to make sure that everything that we talk about is grounded in somebody's actual lived story, okay? And then we provide actionable strategies to optimize brain health and aging. So here are some of our guests from episode 2. That is Myrna Norman. She was from our loneliness and social isolation episode. Myrna's been living with dementia for over 15 years. And she continues to thrive. She is an advocate out in BC, in British Columbia. She started her own support group for individuals living with dementia. She actually created something called her Purple Angels, where she brings people together and really tries to reduce stigma associated with dementia. And she's living her best life with her family member right there. Episode 4, this is Ernestine Shepherd. She was our exercise episode guest. She is an 88-year-old bodybuilder. And if you want to hear the best part, she didn't start lifting weights until her late 50s when she wanted to get into a bathing suit and she just wanted to give it a go. And then she became a professional, award-winning, medal-winning bodybuilder. And she continues to train others now in her late 80s. Yes. She has life goals, is all I'm gonna say. And when I refuse to go to the gym, I think about Ernestine and I think about, okay, if Ernestine can go, I can get on an elliptical. I really can. And then on the right, we have David Chase. He was our episode from episode 17 on music. David is a caregiver, was a caregiver. He lost his wife to dementia recently, but he found music to be incredibly therapeutic for him and his wife throughout their journey. They continued to go to a dementia-friendly choir. They continued to engage with the community, and even after her passing, he continues to go to that choir to socially engage. And last I heard, he was going to actually be in a musical. Yes, he's singing out loud. This is just a sample of the stories that we feature. And from those stories, we actually take away actionable strategies on how we can incorporate music into our life, incorporate exercise into our life, incorporate others into our life. So, we also offer, we realize podcasts aren't for everybody. So we offer 60-second animated videos with the key messages from our podcast episode. And in honor of cardiovascular, we're going to show you the exercise one.
From cycling, table tennis, and weightlifting, to gardening and walking your dog. We know exercise is good for your body, but it might be a surprise, it's also good for your brain.
Exercise increases blood flow and creates new brain cells. That can improve memory, protect against dementia, and slow or even reverse cognitive decline. Exercise literally strengthens your brain.
Research shows that any movement is better than none. Everyone can find a way to exercise, no matter what your physical ability.
So exercise regularly and choose activities that bring you joy. As your body gets used to one exercise, challenge yourself with something new to maximize your brain benefits.
Every step counts, because you're never too young or too old to exercise. Boost your brain health and decrease your dementia risk.
So for those of you, that is J. Okay. So for those of you who may not necessarily love animated videos, may not love podcasts, we do actually have infographics. One page, really brief summaries of the science behind the factor, and then how can you take action. And I'm just going to do a little plug. We have all the infographics at our booth outside. So you can actually go and pick them up as well afterwards. But we have them in English and French. And then most importantly, at our website, defydementia.org, you can find the podcast, you can find the animated videos, you can find the infographics, as well as other resources. So we curate additional resources around the topic so people can go and learn more and get those additional pieces of information. But who's ready to actually put some stuff into action right now? Yes, because we are incredibly pleased to welcome to the floor Kennedy Dale Johnson and Caroline Nicholas Gordon from Canada's National Ballet School. They partnered with Baycrest to create what we call Sharing Dance Older Adults, which is an exercise program, and they are going to actually have us dance right now. Whoa, here we go.
Right now, apparently.
Right now.
Sorry.
Yes. So Caroline and yes, and just hands, and Kennedy are going to lead us in a dance for the next 10 minutes and hopefully get your brain health already moving. All right, Paul, where are you?
Great. Well, hello, everybody.
Okay.
It's so nice to get a chance to dance with you today. So we are from, as was shared, Canada's National Ballet School. And although we do have ballet in our name and we do quite a bit of ballet, we believe that dance is for everybody, and there is so much good that comes from dance, both the exercise portion, which we just learned about, but also the socialization and the fun part of it. So today, we are going to be giving you a little bit of a snippet of what some of our older adults programming that we have created with Baycrest might look like. So that includes an online free resource where you can click and do a 25 or 45-minute class with one or two of our educators and a live musician playing in the background, which is pretty fancy. But today, we're just going to do some moving. Now, like I said, we believe dance is for everybody and that you can do it in your own way. So today, we are going to do our dancing seated, which is always an option for our older adults recorded classes. And we believe that you can kind of choose your own adventure. So you can follow along with what I'm doing, you can follow along with what Caroline's doing, or you can make your own movement, whatever feels best for you. So we're going to start with a little bit of a warm-up, and we're going to make sure that you feel comfortable in your seat, whether that's, sitting a little bit further back or a little bit more forward. Make sure that your feet are planted quite solidly on the floor if possible, and that you just feel like you're in a place that you can do some moving. Now, you might notice you might have a friend a little bit close to you at the side, so feel free to adjust where you're reaching. If you want to move your lower body, really up to you. Yeah, if you want to sneak away a little bit so you have a bit more space, that is also completely fine. So we love to use beautiful music. The music we're going to use today is by one of our musicians at NBS. His name's Craig Wingrove. And the great thing is a lot of our musicians, they do a great job pulling very fun pieces of music. So if you take a look at our resources, you'll see some very, very fun music pieces. Some you might recognize, some you might not. But for our warm-up today, we're going to explore the idea of the beach a little bit. I know it was raining earlier today, but before that, it was very, very warm, and it was very much beach weather. So we're going to start with this idea of waves in our hands, flowing back and forth. Good. Okay, and then we're going to trace our hands through that water back and forth. Great. Now, you might not be able to go super far back, so it might be more like a swoosh forward today. Yeah, okay. And then we're going to explore a few more things. We might squish our feet in our sand. We might take a really deep breath in to really smell that lovely ocean air. And we will probably do some waving hello, because one of the great things about dance is it's an amazing way to socialize with someone, whether it's on the screen or someone who's in person. So we get a chance to to smile and say hello to somebody. So let's get started with our beautiful wave. We're going one way and the other. We're going to go back and forth. Okay, back to those waves, swooshing one way and the other. Okay, it's time for those waves we practice. See if you can say hello to someone. Hello. 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 Good. Okay, we take a deep breath in and out. Smelling that lovely ocean air. Two more. And you can really let those shoulders go up high. Okay, pushing your feet into the sand. You can do it with your hands as well if you'd like. We're gonna test that water to see, is it warm or is it cold? You decide. I wonder, I think mine is a little bit cold today. Let's try again. We reach in. Okay, I think this time it's hot. Perfect for some swimming. Here we go. How are you going to go swimming? You could do our forward stroke. You could do a back stroke. Maybe you got a doggy paddle. Whatever you would like. Okay, and then of course the best part of being on the beach is having a rest after you've been swimming. So we're gonna take a big reach and a breath. Go. Oh, maybe one more. Ready? And we like to make noise while we're dancing, so feel free to yawn with me if you'd like. Oh, that was pretty good. Okay, one more, nice and loud. Ready? Okay, and we have our lovely finish, feeling our beautiful sunshine at the beach. Wow, okay, beautiful. I love it. The waves were beautiful. I saw some great yawns at the end as well. Okay, now we've warmed our bodies up a little bit. Hopefully you're feeling able to move and groove even more. And you might notice, but we like using things around us in our dancing because it makes it more fun. So today, I thought maybe we could be a rock band. Ooh, I have a feeling we might do pretty well with this. So we got to get our tapping feet going, and you can decide if you'd like to do some snapping, you do some clapping, you do some flicking if you'd like, okay? But the idea is we are going to be 4 different parts of our band, okay? So we're gonna get moving and grooving, and then we're gonna find our way to our first instrument, which is gonna be a guitar. And you get to decide how you'd like to play your guitar. You can even do a big if you'd like, okay? So you choose. Maybe you play your guitar on both sides. Maybe you're extra talented. Who knows? But after we've played our guitar for a little bit, we're going to keep on going with that moving and snapping and grooving. And we're going to see what else we're going to find. We're probably going to find a thing of drums. Now, drums are percussion, right? So you can decide if you'd like to do your percussion on your body or if you'd like to play your drums wherever you would like. Okay. We're also going to play the piano. Now, one of the things that we get a chance to talk with musicians very often, which is pretty exciting, is they always tell us stories about in rock bands when there's musicians who play the piano, they usually have not just one keyboard, but they'll have ones beside them, sometimes behind them, so they can do all sorts of fancy things with their keyboard. So we're going to really get into that, okay? And then last but not least, You'll find out I like to say choose your own adventure, but it's a bit of choose your own adventure. So if you're feeling like you want to be the main singer, you could be the main singer, right? If you want to play the tambourine, which is my personal favorite, you could play the tambourine. And if there's anything else that, we didn't get to in our rock band that you would like to try, you are more than welcome to choose that. So we're going to start with our guitar. We're going to go into our our drums, then our piano, and then your own choice to finish. And of course, in between, you got to show how cool you are. So here we go. Our guitar. Okay, we walk to our next instrument. Our drums. Okay, time to find a new one. Okay, what's it gonna be this time? Piano! Okay, ready to find a new one? Here we go, we're gonna walk. Okay, now, it's time for you to choose your own one. What's it gonna be? I'm gonna sing. Not really, though. I'm gonna pretend I'm singing. Play your tambourine, or if you really like that piano, maybe the piano comes back. Oh, I see some horn instruments happening. Good choice. Good, okay, and we need a big finish to finish. So we're gonna reach our arm, like the rock star we are, we're gonna bring it down. Try your other one, reach it, and bring it down. Good, okay, do both this time. Ready, here we go. Both, and we gotta do a big bow, ready? All right, great job, everybody. Give yourself a big round of applause. I gotta say, I think we're pretty great rock stars. Okay, we're gonna try one more before we're all done for today, because although I could dance all day, this is really just a snippet of all the fun things we have for you to try. So we are going to finish with one of our reverences. So reverence is a very fancy way to say kind of thank you at the end of a dance class. And we call it very numerous things depending on the style of dance, right? A thank you, a reverence, a bow. But the idea is it's a way of saying thank you to everybody who came and danced with you today. And I want to say a huge thank you to all of you for dancing with us today and giving everything a try. So the way this one works is if you know it, you can sing along. I'm going to sing, fair warning. I am a dancer. I do sing occasionally. It's not my strongest suit. But it's all about going across the ocean. So my Bonnie lies over the ocean. My Bonnie lies over the sea. My Bonnie lies over the ocean. Bring back my Bonnie to me. And then we get to bring her back. We could bring back, oh, bring back my Bonnie to me, Bring back, oh, bring back my Bonnie to me. Look at that, you are ready to go. So this is a way for you to take a look at who's on this side of you and say thank you, and who's on this side of you, and take that hopefully great energy you're feeling and all the fun and really get to hold on to it for the rest of today. So here we go. My Bonnie lies over the ocean. My Bonnie lies over the sea. My Bonnie lies over the ocean. So bring back my Bonnie to me. Oh, bring back my Bonnie to me. Bring back. much, everybody. Wow. Feel like we got a choir in there as well as some dancing. So thank you so much for dancing with Caroline and I today. We do have a booth outside, so if you would like to visit and hear a little bit more about our free online classes, they're on demand, so you can choose one whenever you'd like. Or if you just have questions, feel free to come and have a visit. Thank you again for all of your amazing dancing.
So thank you so much, Kennedy and Caroline, for joining us. I would like to invite the rest of our panel and Paul back to the stage. Dr. Nicole Anderson, come on up. There's chairs. Is the Interim Executive Director of Scientific and Academic Affairs, the Director of the CATS Interprofessional Research Program in Geriatric and Dementia Care, and Associate Scientific Director of the Kimmel Family Center for Brain Health and Wellness, as well as a Senior Scientist at the Rotman Research Institute. Okay. She's also a professor of psychology and psychiatry at the University of Toronto, and she's a registered clinical neuropsychologist. She researches memory, clinical attention in healthy and pathological aging, and lifestyle dementia risk reduction. So we're going to talk to her about that. Next to her is Emil Boychuk. He has been a teacher, counselor, and educational leader. He is retired now, and he enjoyed an active lifestyle and was shocked when he learned there were blockages in his heart arteries in 2009 at the age of 62. Over the coming months and years, he got 2 stents and a single bypass, and he's completed 2 programs at the Cardiac Rehab Center, presently at the University of Health Network. And we're gonna let him tell you a little bit about his story and where he is now. So please join me in welcoming Nicole and Emil to the panel. So I'm gonna start off. Mics are on. Mics are on. Emil, can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and your experiences with your heart health?
Certainly, happy to. Is it working?
Can everybody hear us? Talk. You might want to bring the mic right up.
Okay. I'm going to go back to the spring of 2008. I was in a leadership camp, and it was sort of in a hilly area, and I went up the hill a number of times, and gee, I was I'm not very fit anymore. I used to do 10Ks and did regular running. Then a while later, I had angina. But the following day, I was supposed to fly to New Jersey. So I went over to a walk-in clinic, and it says, hey, I need some kind of a pill or something because something's not working well. They sent me to the emergency. At any rate, I had 2 stents. There was an area of my heart that didn't still, there was a problem of blood flow, and then I had a single bypass. And I went to the rehab program twice, a real slow learner, I guess. At any rate, it's now over 14 years since I graduated the second time. And what's kept me thriving is all the good things I learned at the rehab. And I'm now finding out that these are good things for dementia too, for avoiding dementia.
So, Emil, what were you prescribed, and did you keep up with it?
So the rehab program is amazing in that they tell you very clearly this is how much walking, jogging, running you should be doing. They give you regular fitness tests 3 times during the program. And they sort of started, this is where you're at. And one of the things that happened after I had my surgeries was that I'd go walking because I heard that was good for you. When I came to the rehab, they said, you're walking way too slow. If you're going to get your heart to get stronger, you have to push it a bit. But they tell you how much exactly. And so at first I had to walk a longer distance at a faster rate. The good news is, after a number of years, I did 2 half marathons, and the timing was pretty good.
So you told us that there was something in particular that kept you motivated in terms of your group. Do you want to tell the audience about it?
Well, I think the number one thing is, after my second graduation, a number of us were concerned about keeping up. And we formed a peer support group, which we've been meeting now for 14 years. And every month, since COVID, we've been meeting virtually, but occasionally we get together for a social. We had one yesterday. We encourage one another. We learned all these good things at rehab. You need exercise, you need to watch your diet, you need to manage your stress, you need to watch your blood pressure, all of those things. And so each month we say, well, how are you doing? And we talk not only just specifically about health, but a lot of things that are happening in our lives, good things and tough, family members graduating and getting married, but the tough stuff that we support one another, and that's been a tremendous part of maintaining these things. And I think each of us need a social community that helps us to live well.
So I'm going to turn to Nicole. As a clinical neuropsychologist and a focus on brain health, what does Emil's story, how it resonates for you?
Yeah, I think the last thing you said is what really resonates with me, is that it's important to have a community. Exercise, for me, in my mind anyway, I prefer to do it with other people and to have that support with people. So everybody's different. You know what you like, and so do what you're passionate about. But having that support system is incredibly important. Yeah.
So, Paul, you know Emil from before, and he's mentioned he went from walking, not so fast, to half marathons. I guess I'll speak for maybe all of you, but really it's my question. How much of exercise do I really need to do in order to get some of the benefits? Because Emil says walk faster. I'm like, how fast exactly is that?
So my first shout out to Emil, that he's a great model and a great role model for many people who've been through our program. And not only does he kind of lead the peer support group, he's also been someone who comes to our program every month and participates in ongoing walking, running groups. We happen to do a half marathon together, so isn't that lovely?
Okay, who wants to do a half marathon with the two of them now?
He ran, I followed, so it's all good. How much do you need to do is I think, as Jay said on the video, is do something. More is better. And if I had to give you like the scientific guidelines thing, it says 30 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity, 5 days a week equals 150 minutes per week. So that's the number. What does it really mean? Do a little bit more than you're doing right now. If you're a habitual sitter, can you sit a little bit less? If you can start moving, can you move 5 minutes a day?
I'm standing.
Yeah, there you go, Roseanne. Thanks for modeling success. And then if we get to 30 minutes a day, that's cool. But if you can do 15, that's also excellent. It's not an all or none. It's not guideline, yes, no. It's any movement is good movement in whatever shape or form that we can do. But the evidence says if you can get 30 in a day, cool, that's excellent. Break it up 10, 10, 10 through the day. That's good too.
So, Nicole, I think one of the things that, there's so many of the risk factors that are cardiovascular related, and Paul went through them. Mm-hmm. But maybe for our audience, can you talk a little bit about what is it about the brain that is linked to that?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, the brain has a very rich blood supply to it. So anything that's good for the heart is good for the brain vasculature as well. We know that exercise also improves sleep, and sleep is important when it comes to dementia risk as well. We know that it improves mood, so it helps to lower feelings of depression and stress and things like that as well. And as was mentioned in the video, we grow new neurons while we're exercising as well. So it's good in so many different respects.
So Emil, you started this journey because you had that angina and your heart rehab, but how do you feel about your brain health today?
Well, at first I was worried about having a stroke because I heard there was a connection between heart disease and stroke. But now, through Defy Dementia, I've learned, it also affects our brain health in terms of dementia. And so that's one of the things that I now recognize I didn't recognize before. I know a number of people that have had dementia. I've worked with some people or looked after some people that had dementia. But it's something that I now know we can do something to delay it, prevent it. And so that's that's another piece, another thing to check off.
Amazing. So we're going to shortly turn over to audience Q&A. So for those of you in the audience who might have questions for our panel, start bringing up to the surface. We're going to go to you in a second. I'm going to ask each of our panelists to ask them for one piece of advice that they want you to walk away with today. Nicole, let's start with you.
Well, I'm going to just echo something that Paul said. There's a lot of focus on exercise, which is viewed as planned movement for improving health. But that's not the only thing that's important. Just being active and not being so sedentary is just as important as well. We actually published a study showing that the more household chores you do, the bigger your brain is. So when you think about it, vacuuming is hard work, or mopping the floor or something like that. So just being more active throughout your day and not sitting all the time. So every 20 minutes or so, get up and just move about a little bit.
Check. I have to clean the bathroom this weekend. Emil, your piece of advice for our audience.
Well, if my wife heard that, my chore list is going to get longer. I think what I would say is that one of the programs that was at the rehab is Take Charge, and they still have monthly lectures. I think we each have to take charge of our own health, and it changes. We change. All kinds of medications change. Lots of life situations change. We need to take charge and be proactive in looking after our health. We have doctors, we have medicines, we have exercise, and we have to take charge of that.
Thank you. Paul?
Make good choices. Make one every day, right? Life is about deciding what we're going to make of our day, what we're going to do in our day. Just do one good thing for yourself, whether that's to go for a walk, to shred some iron, like our colleague on the podcast, or to learn about a risk factor. Just feed yourself and feed yourself something good. Thank you.
Okay. So we have talked for the past 45 minutes. I want to open the floor to our audience. If you have questions, please feel free to raise your hand, and then a member of our team is going to come with a microphone, and then we're going to ask you to ask a question, and hopefully we'll turn it to the panel. I'm going to offer. All right, you go, and then we'll share a mic. I can talk really loud.
We got a rover.
Yep.
Hi, I do a lot of walks, but I'm wondering now if I'm walking fast enough. Is there any guide for that? And
Paul.
if I could also mention that I find every time when I do a walk, I'm having one less snack. So that's kind of that extra bonus.
Multitasking, perfect, yeah. So like one simple guide on are you getting enough is, in terms of intensity, are you a little bit short of breath when you're walking? Just a little bit. If you are with someone and you're conversing back and forth and you can have long conversations without taking a break, then that's probably not quite fast enough. If you can walk with just a little bit of breathlessness, then that actually corresponds to physiologically getting closer to the threshold where your heart's getting just enough of a stimulus to get stronger. So walk, talk, test.
Thank you very much.
Great.
Thank you. Natalie, our next question, please. We're just going to alternate sides. So here we go.
Good afternoon. I'm just curious with the saying that dementia can be inherited, or it's just a myth, because I'm hearing that it runs in the genes.
Nicole, do you want to kick us off?
There are very rare cases where it is inherited, but that's about 2% of all dementia cases. In the other cases, there is a genetic component to it potentially, meaning that you might carry risk or genes that put you at higher risk for dementia. But what I find very powerful is that in that case, that latter case, that a healthy lifestyle has as much or more benefit in terms of preventing dementia, even if you're at high risk compared to people who are at low genetic risk. So, I mean, I think what we're trying to get across here is that a lot of dementia risk is in our hands, regardless of what your genetic makeup is, with those few rare exceptions. But they're not even worth worrying about, really.
Thank you. Micah, our next question.
Hi, I'm interested in knowing how does swimming fit into this, because I do a lot of that.
All right, here we go, Paul.
Thank you. Any activity is good activity. If you love to swim and you're getting a good workout, that is, you feel, again, a little bit shorter breath. You can do it for 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. You do your strength training as well alongside. Fantastic. We don't encourage non-swimmers to start swimming without supervision. And some people early after having had an event, maybe the pool is not the first thing that we would suggest, Emil. Like after heart surgery, getting into a pool might not be the first thing, just to get your sea legs back before you get in the water. But excellent. Keep going with what you're doing.
Emil, swimming, yes?
So it's not my favorite sport, but swimming has a number of benefits because you're using almost every muscle in your body when you're swimming. And so I have done some swimming. I've gone to something that's sort of in between, is doing, what do they call it, aquafit. Yes. So it's easier to manage how breathless you might get or not, but you still get a lot of benefit in terms of the exercise.
Thank you for that. Going over to Natalie with our next question.
I just have a question about cortisol and the role that plays in health and brain health. I guess this is just something a friend of mine who has diabetes was saying that he doesn't do too much exercise because that can cause his cortisol levels to get higher, and that is also related to brain health.
Here we go, Paul. Cortisol.
All right. So our body is full of hormones, full of chemicals. One of them is called cortisol. It comes out of the adrenal glands that live just above your kidneys. It's really one of these things that we might classify as a stress marker. Rarely there are endocrine conditions where there's overproduction of cortisol, something called Cushing's syndrome. It's associated with high blood pressure, developing adipose tissue, maybe propensity to diabetes. But more so, we talk about cortisol as a stress marker. If we're under a lot of mental stress or physical stress, cortisol goes high. And that can have these kinds of adverse effects on the body, like sugar going high, blood pressure going high, etc. So the key there is finding ways to reduce the stressors in our body. And in fact, exercise is a good way of reducing cortisol. Eating well is a good way of reducing cortisol. Sleeping well is a good way of reducing cortisol. You can see where the pattern goes here. If you do all of those things, you lower cortisol, lower all kinds of risk, lower dementia risk as well. So getting into a good physical activity program is in fact probably beneficial as opposed to harmful in that situation. Cool.
I guess the only thing I'll add to that is that one thing we know about cortisol is that it's especially toxic to the hippocampus, which is critical for memory as well. So yes, a healthy lifestyle to help reduce those levels. And I would throw in meditation into that mix too. Yeah.
Going over to Micah with our next question.
Hi. Of course, I'm going to do all the things that you're advising me to do today, but this is for other people.
Other
and that
people,
is
100%.
to know what are the signs of dementia. Like that things are more than, oh, I went into the room and what did I come into the room for? Or, you know, the things that I can't remember your name, you know, those sorts of things that we have normally.
Nicole.
That is totally normal. I do that all the time as well. So as we age, our memory does decline a little bit. So we have more difficulty storing new memories as we get older, things that happened more recently. Our speed of processing slows down a bit, so we take a little bit longer to think things through. We do have more naming or tip of the tongue problems as well. But where it tips into what would be mild cognitive impairment, which is like a transitional stage between healthy aging and dementia, is when people are having considerably more of these episodes. And two things in particular are kind of hallmark features of mild cognitive impairment, and that is asking the same question multiple times within a single conversation, so that like the answer just didn't register at all. And getting disoriented in a place that you used to be really familiar with. So the normal memory slips, you don't have to worry about them at all. Baycrest runs a great program called the Memory and Aging Program that teaches people about what are the normal changes with memory as we get older, and what are some very practical everyday strategies that you can learn and implement to make your memory function better.
Thank you for that. I'm going to go into Natalie with our next question, please. And just a note, we also have some questions in the back. Don't worry, we see ya.
Thank you so much. I think that we need more information about this cardio disease prevention and rehabilitation program. Many people, they go for the procedure and then they have no information that where to go for that and how to contact that. I have my own experience since after COVID, my cardiologist retired and I am not able to find out where to go, and I have two procedures, emergency, but third was still due and I don't know how to go there. And that's what I'm looking for, not me. Many people like me don't have any information. This headline is there, but where to go, how to contact, and how to get referral, and these are the practical things we need if you can provide us some information.
Paul?
Thank you so much.
So one simple website I'll give you is called cardiaccollege.ca. Cardiaccollege.ca. If that's too much, I'll write it down for you afterwards. Yeah, so one, I think if I generalize your question, I'll come back to you afterwards, okay? So that's one answer. I think the programs that we're describing, whether for brain health or heart health or diabetes health, we need to get into them more, right? We need to make them more accessible. And if for some reason we feel disconnected in our healthcare system, which is often the case, right? Sometimes we just need navigation with a friendly face to get us to the places where we need to. Don't feel shy about asking your primary care practitioners, a family member, to say, I just need to get to a place. Your family doc should know where we live in Toronto, that we're well known enough, whether it's going to Baycrest for brain health or us for heart health. But please do ask those questions. And if you don't get the answer, then ask again, because they may be in a state of early cognitive impairment and they're not hearing you and they're not answering you. So ask the question. Thanks. And I'll get to you afterwards.
All right, go on to Micah with our next question, please.
Hi, this is a question for Emil. Do you know what attributed to the blockages? What the cause of the blockages were?
What contributed to your heart blockages?
I think for number one, I believe it was more connected with stress. My job was I found fairly stressful, working late, which in turn, I think raises blood pressure, and I think eating too many Danishes. So they say it takes 20 years to develop blockages. So it's I think a cumulative thing that happened, but it's also, there's something in my family. One of my cousins, same age, just up and died from heart attack. Another one, they call it he has an iron jacket because he has so many stents. So it could be a number of things.
Thank you for that. Going over to Natalie with our question.
Hi, everything is very good what you said, but about sleeping. I always sleep like until midnight, wake up. I couldn't even sleep until 2 o'clock. And after try to sleep, I can't. Come back at 6. So the sleep is not really good.
Any thoughts on tips on sleeping? Go, Nicole.
Yeah, I would recommend going to the library. I think the Toronto Public Library is here.
Vanessa,
Vanessa.
Vanessa.
Look up books on sleep CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy. It is a fairly new concept, but it's proving to be quite successful in helping to address sleep issues. Also, bring it up with your family doctor too. They might send you for a sleep study as well. But sleep CBT is more about the sleep hygiene aspects, about what we can do behaviorally to improve our sleep at night. Exercise helps us sleep better at night, as we've said before too. But I think those two things in combination.
I'm going to add, we actually have an infographic about sleep hygiene at our table outside. How it's some pretty simple tips on how you could improve, for example, your sleep. Even just going to bed at a regular time and waking up at a regular time can actually help improve your sleep quality. Paul, do you want in on this action?
Sleep issues are common, especially as we get older. Very important. I echo Nicole's thoughts that some people are experiencing actually sleep disorder, like sleep apnea, where we're having periods of time where we stop breathing, we get obstruction in our neck, and then we wake up to try to regain our breathing patterns. If that's going on, then treatments are helpful to address those irregularities. Because I think what you're pointing out is if you don't sleep, the rest of the day doesn't work particularly well. Sleep is critical for restoration. You know, I've heard it, Nicole, that we kind of clean our brains at nighttime. That's when the garbage trucks come out and clear all the streets and things like that. So if you're not sleeping, we leave an ugly mess for us in the morning, and it's hard to function during the day. So getting sleep is critically important.
Thank you. Going over to Micah with our next question.
This question is for Dr. O. Apart from cardiac failure patients, what's the current thought on dietary salt?
Yeah, so dietary salt. One, in general in the population, we have too much salt, right? The population basis, probably 500 milligrams or more than we need. What it does is it raises the blood pressure in the population by a couple millimeters. And on average, that leads to excessive heart disease, excessive stroke. You get too much sodium, not from the food that you prepare at home, even if you're careful with the salt shaker, but it's from prepared things. Luncheon meats, smoked items, and stuff we get that's brought in from outside. So I trust you completely. You look like a very thoughtful person. You're going to control sodium at home, but outside the sodium's going to come and get you. So I think for most people, the vast majority would say, if we can lower the salt intake, that's a really good thing. If you're living with heart failure, propensity to accumulate salt in water, then we need to restrict it a little bit more. There's odd canaries, maybe somebody's in the room, where we encourage extra salt intake to boost blood pressure, but that's very unusual situation. For most of us, if we can reduce salt, that's probably a good idea.
Thank you for that. Going to Natalie with our next question, please.
You speak a lot about physical activity, social activity, sleep, and all those things that stimulate you and supposed to help. How about reading, crossword puzzles, doing I'm a very active person, and to sit down and read, I find difficult. So does that mean I'm more at risk because I don't put the time in for the puzzles? I prefer to be active and being out there.
Nicole, do you want to start us off on cognitive stimulation? And then I'd love, Emile, for you to weigh in on what you end up doing.
Yeah, so cognitive engagement, as we call it, is very important, but that can come in so many different varieties. That could be listening to podcasts, attending lectures like this. It doesn't have to be the puzzles if you're not into those. And in fact, to be totally honest, brain games or puzzles, you will get better at those puzzles or those games, but it's not going to really generalize to anything else. So it's better just to be an engaged person and coming out to events like this, joining book clubs or discussion groups, those kinds of more everyday life kinds of activities.
For me, reading is an important part. I think once I recognize I have heart disease, reading David Kavanaugh, the founder of the rehab in Rumsey Road, reading Dr. Ornish, all of this reading, I think, stimulates and motivates me. And I do read the Star daily, as a plug for Star. And so I think they say language. I do know a couple of languages, and I need to give it a little more attention. And the other thing is find the things that you love doing that are stimulating, and that's all going to be a plus.
I'm just going to add one more thing in there. So many forms of exercise involve cognitive engagement as well. So dance is a great example of that you have to remember the steps and think it through, think on your feet and multitask. So, yeah.
And even sports, a lot of sports involve like a lot of strategy, a lot of different types of thinking as well, right? So we often say, find something that you enjoy because that's something you're more likely to maintain and keep up, right? Because I think a lot of people find it difficult to keep up with stuff. So if you genuinely enjoy it and it's stimulating in that way, you're more likely to keep doing it, which is important. Okay, go into Micah and the back.
Hi. Health trackers like Fitbit, how reliable are they in really monitoring your health, your sleep, your heart rate, steps and things like that they track?
So many of the, first of all, for disclosure, our program happens to do a lot of work with Apple. So we've put these kinds of devices on lots of folks. Part of that research shows that it actually works pretty well. So simple things like counting steps. If you're walking purposefully and doing it, then that's great. I have had unusual situations where, there, I just did 10 steps, look at that. So you can cheat them, but of course you wouldn't, right? If you're doing them purposely and tracking levels of intensity, that's pretty good in general. Like it'll discriminate whether you're doing low levels of activity like 3,000 steps per day or 10 minutes versus are you getting your full dose like 8,000 or 9,000 steps. So I think that's pretty good. But more so, doing these things with some purpose, with some goal in mind is really what's been shown to make the difference. Am I tracking steps or minutes with a goal in mind that I'm trying to get to 30 a day or 8,000 steps a day and then progressing that along? That's been shown to actually change our behaviors over time, and that's where they can have some value for us.
All right, last question, Natalie, because we are at time.
Hi. Most people in our age group has joint issues. So the exercises that you are suggesting, even sometimes walking or climbing the stairs or dancing, that becomes impossible. I used to be a classical dancer, but too much thumping has deteriorated my knee. And once climbing a mountain, I fell on my knee. So the whole weight came on the knee. That usually happens in this age group. So how do we keep the balancing act while taking care of our joints and still get the enough exercise?
You want to do that? You want to do it?
So I think exercise can be many dimensional. I know some of the people that have been in a program are doing chair yoga. So it depends which joints you're having trouble with. There are many other joints that you can stress and use for, the goal is to raise your heart rate. And so you have these cycles where you can get exercise simply by using your arms. So there are many choices. Look at what works for you. And but it is important to look after joints. because joints give us the flexibility to do a variety of things.
Great answer.
I'm so sorry, but we do have to, but we're going to be standing
I'll just
around.
add that there, now this next session, there are booths, so all of these experts are going to be out there at every different table. So I think that you'll be able to ask all of our wonderful Baycrest volunteers some of the questions that we haven't gotten to right now.
I want to first off say thank you to our guests, Dr. Paul O, Emil Boychuk, Dr. Nicole Anderson, Kennedy and Carolyn from the Canada's National Ballet School. I want to also thank our beautiful colleagues at Toronto Metropolitan University, Clara McBride, Natalie Ira, okay, I'm going to say Gould, and Tegan Miller-Grote for their support this week as well. Thanks to the Defy Dementia team here and at home. Some of them are around, so Dr. Sylvain DeBroca, Natalie Leventhal, Kim Krasnowski, Susan Pede, Taumi Lam, and Tyra Dublo. Thanks to all the teams at our booths. And the reason I bring that up is because you will see outside that there are actually a variety of different resources and booths. You can do an online hearing assessment outside right there in 15 minutes because hearing, risk factor for dementia. If you'd like to do a brain health assessment, we can do it right outside in one of the classrooms as well. Paulina and Salma, raise your hand higher. Yes, see them if you'd like to do your brain health assessment. The Kimmel Family Center for Brain Health and Wellness, where you can do exercise, social engagement. Nicole's team is out there. We also have Canada's National Ballet School is out there. Our Center for Health Information and Caregiver Support Information is out there. Who got tote bags as they came in? Yes, tote bags. They are empty. Go to the booths and fill them up. We were very purposeful with that. We gave you an empty tote bag so you would have to go and visit people to get stuff to put in the tote bag. So thank you all so much for your engagement. Thank you for your questions. Please come on up and please visit the booth. Thank you so much, everybody.
And thank you very much to Dr. Aliong and the wonderful panel and all the participants today. You guys were amazing. Now, if you didn't get a tote bag, we still have more here, so please pick one up. Please do go visit the booths. And just to let you know, I lied to you earlier. I apologize. We're not doing everything in here today. At 5:15, we will be meeting in the Commons for a cooking demonstration with Chef Tommy. Okay, so go visit the booths and wind up in the Commons by 5:15, please.